If we go on doing what we're supposed to do, which is covering the news accurately, checking our sources, that in a time when there are so many different media available to the audience, that what is happening here at Stony Brook, and what I hope will happen around the country then, is the training of an audience in discerning the difference between, pardon me, shit and shinola. And that really is what we have to do. And the audience has to get some help, especially younger people who weren't around to watch all the.
And if we do it right, we have the access and the other things to get to the information that the citizen doesn't have.
All right, so I'd like to hear from each of the panelists, starting with Ted, on what a news organization could do in addition to covering the news well to promote these goals. And then after that, we're going to go to the audience. So please, if you have a question, think of it, and then we're going to have the microphones on both sides, as we did this morning. We're a couple of minutes away from the interactive portion of the program. But Ted, what could a news organization do differently besides the high-quality coverage you just outlined?
I don't think we do anything different than the high quality, and it has to be, as Alex points out, it has to be entertaining, it has to be interesting, but I think we have to be reliable. If we are reliable, then I think we will find our audience, as NPR has found its audience, as the New York Times has found its audience. And Alex, I wasn't really talking about, Nightly with Brian or Katie's program or Charlie's program. I think they still do a perfectly fine job. They really do. But I worry about what happens on some of your cable outlets, on MSNBC, on CNBC, where the effort to draw an audience has created now a form of partisanship television that is more of a mud fight than it has anything to do with journalism. That bothers me. I think if we do what we're supposed to do, and if the audience gets a little bit of help in discerning the difference between the good and the bad, we'll be fine.
Alex?
I actually completely agree with Ted. I mean, I think we have to be smart and reliable. And I think an interesting thing, you mentioned cable, is the Rachel Maddow show. She is partisan, but she's also very smart. And I actually think that's a good use of cable. And she's an interesting conversation to listen to every night. And so the fact that she's done really well, I find very encouraging, because it's not yelling. She's actually very thoughtful. She doesn't yell at people. She may disagree with them, but she's a very smart woman. And to your point, I think there's a lot on cable that has high shots of Bernie Madow's car that really is depressing.
Or that's gratuitously more heat than light.
That is more heat than light. But I have to say, the fact that Rachel Maddow has a lot of light and is being watched, I find encouraging.
Well, like I said earlier, we have a different set of challenges. We don't have the kind of commercial pressures to put shows on the air that don't meet our standards, which is great. But we have a different set of challenges, which is, and it gets to what Neil was saying, I think that what we have to do is figure out how to take advantage of the strength of every new platform to be able to deliver those stories in a way that resonates with the same qualities and values as we deliver in our radio shows. Our radio, our radio programs are excellent. They can always be better, but they're generally excellent. How do we then translate, for us, what we call NPR-ness into a text form, into a interactive graphic, into a slideshow, into all kinds of things? How do we capture those, deliver to those sensibilities in the way that people are using media today? That is the challenge that I feel we must rise to, and we're a long way from it right now.
Neil, what should news organizations be doing?
Well, I think the biggest, part of the challenge for, an organization like ours, which is an aggregation of a lot of different content, is how do you get away from just the updates, the latest thing, the facts, and get to the background and depth, and do it in a way that keeps an audience engaged and wanting to come back and get that. There clearly is an interest in that. I think one of the things that's most promising about online media to me is that everybody can pick and choose what they want, and I think there's often times when they select stuff that is often ignored in other media forms. World news was always one of the top categories of news at Yahoo News. And it's not that Yahoo's got this elite audience. It's really into world news. But when you're publishing a newspaper or, deciding how much time of a nightly newscast you devote to international news, you think, well, maybe it's only 20% of the people who care about this, and it gets smaller and smaller and smaller. Well, all of a sudden, there's a real opportunity to get that same kind of news out to people who care about it, and I think that's the real opportunity. It's how do you balance, find the people who are interested in world news versus entertainment news versus, the latest scandal, and get that news to them effectively.